Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a swell day. For this video, I'll be having a discussion about the upcoming Resident Evil 7. Now, while I discussed it here in the video, be sure to discuss it amongst each other in the comments, if anyone watches this video. But the gameplay they're watching is from the demo. I recorded this about a day after the demo was announced, and I was originally just gonna upload it and then upload this discussion video after that one, but I thought it was unnecessary. Plus I got kind of lazy. But if you guys still want me to upload the actual gameplay that I did, the recording that you're watching right now, I can. And if you hear anyone else talking in the background, it's either the characters in the game or the commentary I did for the video. Don't worry, you're not hearing voices. Lucky for you. Anyways, we all know Capcom is returning Resident Evil to its horror roots. That's what they claim. And from the demo, it seems like they are. Yeah, I mean, the demo is scary, it's atmospheric, it's immersive, has tons of secrets, and it's most of all just cool. Okay, Capcom has confirmed that the demo release though will not be in the game at all. It was basically what PT was for the cancelled Silent Hills game, but that doesn't mean the game won't be like this demo at all. The actual game will still be in first person. And speaking of which, let's just quickly address this, okay? I just want to talk about the first person view. If you didn't know, Resident Evil 1 was originally supposed to be in first person, but they couldn't do it because of the tech back then. It was obviously too weak for what they wanted to do with Resident Evil in first person. But the reason why first person is a step in the right direction for Resident Evil 7 is because it builds much more tension and feels more personal for the player. I mean, think about it. In third person, you can see what's around the corner, you can see what's behind you, and you can just generally see what's all around you. Plus, it's more personal when, like, imagine like a monster or a zombie or whatever we're fighting in the actual game attacks you, it jumps on you and it's like right in your face. See, in third person, there's still tension for sure because you don't want to die or anything, but not the same kind as a first person horror game. It's not scary like there's the monsters right in your face, okay? And in first person, you also can't see what's behind you or what's around the corner. You can't see what's around that sketchy, strangely dimly lit corner, and that makes it a lot more scary. And like a third person game, you can just kind of swing the camera around and easily see what's around you. And so if it's in first person, you eliminate all of that and it makes it infinitely more scary. Also, this game will also be compatible with PlayStation VR, I should say, instead of PSVR, in case some people don't know. But so like, just think of all the incredible scares you could have and like the immersion. I mean, I know MXR will like that. It's really immersive. So but there's only one thing I really don't want them to do since the game's gonna be in first person. I don't want to play a freaking silent protagonist because for most first person games your character doesn't speak and they usually only make like grunting noises or like other noises, but they never actually talk except for like cutscenes. That's when they talk because like the camera isn't in first person anymore, or sometimes they may be, but usually your character talks in cutscenes because they sometimes kind of have to. And I get that for gameplay, developers don't want your character talking because they want it to make you feel like you're the protagonist. They want it to feel like you're actually in the situation, that you're the one stranded on a lonely island, or you're the one alone in a haunted house or in a dungeon or something like that. But I just don't like that. My character talks in cutscenes, so why not in pulse-pounding, intense moments when they're right on the edge of death, right about to get their freaking face ripped off? Honestly, I don't think having a silent protagonist is really even more immersive than having a voiced protagonist. And the only way you can do a silent protagonist in a first-person game that will actually satisfy me is if you make them a complete mute and explain why they're mute. Explain why they don't talk and stuff. Because that's part of the game, so that makes sense why they don't talk. But if they talk during the cutscenes and not during the gameplay, it doesn't make sense, okay? Because I don't want them like asking all these questions and cracking jokes with their friends and stuff during cutscenes, but then during gameplay, when they're just like walking alongside their buddy or being attacked and tackled on, I don't want them to be completely quiet. But I do have hope that whoever will play will be voiced, because in the demo, when you pick up the phone in the like attic or third floor or whatever, your character does ask who the lady is. So they do, at least in the demo, they do have a voiced protagonist, which I hope will be in the game. All right, so next let's talk about the characters that will be in Resident Evil 7. So first of all, we already know that none of the existing characters will show up, or at least they won't be like main characters, so you won't see like you won't see Leon or Chris or any of those people. They might make cameos or you might hear about them, but you won't play as them. But I do hope that for the franchise's sake, that they keep these new characters that we're getting. I hope that they keep them, because I mean, like, okay, I just hope that they keep them, like how Leon or Chris or Jill or for Claire, because frankly the series needs newer characters. I mean, we already know they know how to deal with situations like this, okay? Like, they've already been through crazy situations like this, like all four of our main characters, our most important characters, they've already dealt with zombies, they've dealt with viruses, they've dealt with monsters, and these like crazy moments that they've survived. They're badasses. So in situations like this, they already know how to handle it, because they're pretty much experts now. So I think it'd be more interesting if you were playing someone who's never been in a situation like this, someone who is confused as hell and is extremely frightened, like they're completely on edge. That would be great for the series and extremely fresh. And then if you want to make them into a badass later on, cool, why not? That's fine with me. But just get the characters right, okay? I really want interesting characters. I don't want another Jake or Helena or Shiva or whatever Chris's partner in part 6's name was. I think his is like Pierce or something. I don't want any characters like those, okay? Because those characters are freaking snooze fest in my opinion. If you like them, cool, I guess. It's just that they're not as interesting as the series' main characters. And to be honest, Leon, Chris, and Jill aren't even all that interesting. I mean, I like Leon kinda, he cracks jokes, and he was an ex-cop who was in Raccoon City during the, I don't want to say zombie apocalypse, but during the infestation, I'll say. But he's kind of meh compared to other characters from other games like Kratos, Joel, Marcus Phoenix, Max Payne, John Marston, or Master Chief. And Chris and Jill are really boring too. They're not as interesting. They're not interesting enough, I'd say Jill is slightly more interesting than Chris, but when compared to other female characters like Lara Croft, Elizabeth, Clementine, or Ellie, she's pretty meh too, like Leon. I'd say out of like all of the main characters or most important characters, I'd say Claire is my favorite. Out of like the four that I listed, Leon, Chris, Jill, and Claire, I'd say Claire's the most interesting out of all of them, but she's still not the best. She's just most interesting. Now keep in mind that I've only ever played Resident Evil 1, 4, 5, 6, Revelations, and Revelations 2. I didn't play 2, 3, Code Veronica, or any of those other more wild games, and certainly I didn't play those on rail shooters. I don't like those much, so I didn't play any of those. Maybe they had some character development in those, but I feel like the ones that I played showed enough. Okay, they showed enough to where if they were cool, I would have liked them. They showed enough. But keep in mind that I don't know everything, but I do have a pretty good idea of the characters. And again, if you like these characters, cool. I mean that's fine with me, because I think, in my opinion, I think that Resident Evil needs more characters like Moira, Barry, and Natalia. Because also keep in mind, for Revelations 2, I played it all in Japanese. So I don't know if Moira was like super annoying in English or not. She was for a little bit in the Japanese version, but she developed as a character and got better, and she's actually my favorite character. Strange, I know, but character development, it just doesn't seem as strong in Resident Evil as other games. I mean, our characters don't really change from game to game. They kind of stay the same with just a few minor bumps in the road. Our characters need to feel more like humans, not action heroes who aren't phased at all from past events and just solve problems by killing bad guys. And that's strange because this means that Chris should be the most developed character out of everyone, because he's lost the most and he's been through the most like, I don't know, tragedy or something. So he should be the most interesting, but yet I barely care about him or feel anything when tragedy strikes, because it's just the writing. It needs more of an oomph. You know, we need to care more about him first, and then we need to care about the things that he's going to lose. Like, we need to care about the people he's going to lose. We need to care about what he's going to lose. Like, for example, when his partner died in part 6, I barely cared about either of them, so I didn't really care that his partner died. And when he lost all of his soldiers, you know, when he was after Ada Wong, I didn't really care either. I didn't feel anything. I understand his revenge motivation. I get that. But, you know, I was more worried for Ada. I mean, I didn't want her to die. She was actually one of the cool characters in Resident Evil. And, you know, the characters do seem to be getting better, though, because when Jill's partner in Revelations 1, I think his name was Parker, when he died, I actually cared, because that kind of sucked. I wasn't like bawling, I wasn't crying or anything, but it sucked because he was the funny guy, you know. He's like that awkward dad who always cracks jokes around you and your friends, and it's like while your friends are laughing at him and not so much his jokes, you're just like shaking your head and thinking, "Oh God, Dad, stop." You know, you actually want to be playing the game with Parker by your side. You want him. You know, you just want to be in his company, unlike Jessica, who was incredibly annoying. I didn't care about Chris or Jessica during the entire game, and I didn't care about Jill either. But, you know, Parker was cool. I liked Parker. So they also need more awesome characters like Barry. I mean, Barry's done sketchy stuff with Umbrella and back in the old days, but now he's just like a mid-aged man who's tired of all this nonsense, and he just basically wants like a normal life and wants to be a good dad, but you know, he can't because his daughter kind of sort of hates him, and even though it's mainly his fault that she hates him, he's too stubborn to admit it, and so they have like a terrible relationship. But then his daughter Moira goes missing, so he spends 6 months locating her, and then he's got to go save her because she's his freaking daughter. But doing so will put him back in the situations he hates the most. And along the way, he meets Natalia, who's sort of like a daughter figure, but more of a way for him to vent his feelings and thoughts. And this entire time, he doesn't even know for sure if Moira's still alive. You know, he's on a wild goose chase to find his daughter, who might not even be glad to see him, might not show gratitude towards his efforts to find her, or might be dead. You know, you have all of this in your head, and so when he actually finds Moira, it's awesome. It feels good. They've forgiven each other, and you know, they're kind of bonding again. You know, I guess you'd say that they're mending. You know, that's cool. Now that's good writing. It's deep, complex, and compelling. And on top of that, Barry's just a freaking badass. I mean, when he pulls out his revolver at the end of Revelations 2, I was like, oh yeah, man, let's do this. But then he doesn't use it, you know, so it's like, oh well, but let's move on. I hope Resident Evil 7 continues to be just as mysterious and puzzling like the demo is, you know, like with like all these like secret items and stuff, because right now, during the recording of this video, people are still trying to solve the dummy finger, like you find in that shelf or whatever, you find a dummy finger, and see, if there's more, like if there's more stuff like that in the game, that would be awesome. It's like the good old days when there was no YouTube, so you can't just like look up stuff and just find out all of this stuff. You actually have to be looking. You know, people are like, what do you do with this and this? How about this? Did you try doing this? What does this do? You know, you have tons of people working together, talking with each other, trying to solve these puzzles, thus creating these amazing communities. Like, that's what I'm talking about, Resident Evil. You know, like, I want amazing communities, okay? I want people to be like talking to each other. It's like all this mystery surrounding the game, and then you're just building friendship with people, you know? It's like that's just really cool in my opinion, you know? That's like better than anything I can even ask for. And so next I want to talk about Um, the the game needs to have scarier enemies, because I mean I've only felt a little bit scared when playing Resident Evil 1, but they're still just zombies and like snakes and spiders and like big animal things or whatever. It's not really not that frightening. I'd say the I can't remember the name. It's something like Crimson or something. The guys that you'd have to like do like a special type of killing to like put them down for good, or else they still come after you. I guess those guys were a little bit scary, but other than that, the other Resident Evil games I've played aren't really that scary at all. And um, like keep in mind, I did play Resident Evil 2, 3, and Code Veronica, but only parts of them. I've only played like a few hours into them, so they weren't that scary though, because they had some pretty bad graphics. So it's not really scary. And with the new games, you have good graphics, but not scary enemies, because most enemies in Resident Evil are just bullet sponges, and I freaking hate that. I mean, it feels more like an action game instead of a horror game, because you're just like filling enemies with bullets, constantly shooting and stuff. It doesn't feel scary, because it just doesn't. I mean, you don't really see that much in like other games that like did survival horror especially well, like Dead Space, you know. And the bosses in Resident Evil are especially stupid, because they are pretty much still just the same monsters you've been fighting, except they're bigger and they're more disgusting looking bullet sponges, which, all of that put together I just can't stand. So give us zombies, give us psycho killers, give us whatever, I don't care. Just no bullet sponges and no crazy tentacle monsters, alright? And, make them scary too, okay? Just make them scary. Don't make them all plain and boring. Probably the last thing I want for Resident Evil 7 is a more personal and I'd say smaller scaled story. Like, I don't want a plot that puts the fate of the world on the protagonist's shoulders, okay? Keep it personal and small. Focus on the characters, especially since we're getting new characters. They're going to need a lot of time to develop. They're going to need a lot more focus than other characters that we've already known for a couple of years now. And have high stakes. Don't just go like overboard, like with explosions and stuff, but like have higher stakes, like the main character's family is on the line, or his life is on the line, or he has great potentials that, I don't know, something, he has like goals he wants to achieve. Like make us care about the characters and raise the stakes too, but don't do like China is all gone and stuff like you did in Resident Evil 7, which is like freaking ridiculous. It's like, no, don't do that kind of stuff, because really in great stories, character is key. As long as you have that, even a mediocre idea for a plot will do. I'm not saying don't make it interesting at all. Definitely do. It's just definitely something that, or it just doesn't have to be anything mind-blowing. Like, it doesn't have to be super philosophical or symbolism or address any conspiracies or whatever, It doesn't have to be any of that. Just look at The Last of Us. Bring this girl from point A to point B. She may be a cure to this plague. Simple as that. It's been done a billion times. When you think of The Last of Us, you think of the characters, and that's what you should think of during and after playing Resident Evil 7. So guys, that will be all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and that's it. See ya. So what I'm guessing is going to happen is